do Cornwallu, nejzápadnějšího anglického hrabství, jsme se letos vydali již podruhé. V rámci projektu Pestrá Evropa, který se snaží o zmapování evropských menšin, jsme se snažili navázat kontakt se skupinou Cornwallanů, která se v posledních letech rozrůstá a dostává se do povědomí široké veřejnosti nejen v Británii.
Měli jsme představu krásné krajiny, rodinných farem a drobné teoretické znalosti o historii. Protože se česká literatura současnou situací Cornwallanů nezabývá, museli jsme i teoretické znalosti získávat přímo na místě. Po pár dnech jsme zjistili, že člověka, který se aktivně zajímá o místní kulturu a keltskou historii, nepotkáme na každém rohu. Cornwall patří mezi 6 uznávaných keltských národů.
I think it's a strong family because from Brittany to Cornwall to Ireland, the Isle of Man, Wales and Scotland, there's this Celtic fringe around the UK because the invaders to England pushed out the Celts. And so they ended up in all the outside areas, and many Cornish people went to Brittany. So we have a very close bond with Brittany.
Proto jsme se zeptali, zda jsou obyvatelé těchto oblastí fyzicky rozpoznatelní.
Not generally. You'll see, I mean, I think they talk about people being shorter, more thick-set. In Cornwall you get a lot of dark hair and very blue eyes, sea blue eyes. But I think that's a type rather than a general. And one can only tell from DNA. And the DNA for a lot of people in Britain turns out to be Celt.
Because Cornwall was historically treated slightly differently many centuries ago. It was a separate kingdom for a time within the British Isles, with its own, people speaking their own language. Before people spoke English here, people spoke a Celtic language, Cornish language.
Tuto národnostní menšinu charakterizuje keltský jazyk, konština. V posledních 40 letech dochází k jeho znovu objevení a postupnému rozvoji. V konštině vychází nejen beletrie, ale už i učebnice a knížky pro děti.
They have a lot of Cornish gatherings, and they will say things in Cornish and in English. So that happens, particularly with the bards. So there are times when both languages are used, but it's going to grow.
There is a Cornish language partnership called MAGA, and that is doing quite a lot to promote the use of Cornish in schools, but it's starting off at quite a low level.
I know that all the primaries now have a little package from MAGA in Truro. They have a little package, and they all have a series called Sense of Place and Local History. And so they're given the tools with which to help the pupils understand some language, some music, some dance, the history of the fishing, the mining, the fishing. Although it's virtually dead, still struggling a bit here and there, it's still, the children are still being taught about it very much.
Sorry, up by the main road. Yeah, no, I thought you were talking about the village.
No, it's in a green room.
What is your name?
Loveday Jenkinovi.
Loveday
I am Loveday Jenkin.
How many people, can you count it? How many people can speak Cornish language? Do you know how many people?
Per galasiw, the liberal pigemis y dys ail cys o cynnyw, a was yma myrdys ail cys o tam o cynnyw, mes fag bos ffreth, mae tes yma drodd y 3 hands den ffreth, mes mae tes yma 3,000 ail cys o tam o cynnyw.
That's a difficult question to answer because there are very many levels of Cornish speakers, and if you're talking about the number who are fluent, you might be talking around 300, but if you're talking about the number who know some Cornish, it could be as many as 3,000.
Quite a few people have a more of a basic knowledge of the sort of like Cornish language, and one thing which is happening is that you're starting to see like the Cornish word for Cornwall, Kerno, actually coming in.
A minority of people use the Cornish language, but in some ways it's used all the time because most of the place names or the road names or the village come from a Celtic Cornish language. Like Penzance means holy headland. It's about the headland that goes out, and so many different places. People don't realise they're Cornish necessarily, but they use them all the time.
Things that I'm trying to do at the moment with Case Codal is to promote Cornish activities as a whole, instead of having activities about Cornish food, activities about Cornish dance, activities about Cornish language. Each one of those things should involve the other.
One of the main Cornish foods, like which has become really quite popular, not just in Cornwall, but throughout the UK now. You find them in different places, and over the past few months, the London government actually tried to impose a tax on the pasty, which led to a tax on pasty, extended the VAT so it would basically cost 20% extra. And there was a protest, a popular protest, in which the Cornish flag was flown and protests throughout Cornwall. Local MPs got involved, and that resulted in basically a victory over the government on that issue. So a determination to stand up for their rights.
Culture is the way I say it. Culture is an environment. It's not a dance. It's not a language. It's not a type of food. It's an environment. Culture is something you live in, not something you do.
A very stiff upper body. They dance from the waist down, and it's similar with Cornish. With Scottish they use their arms, and with the Manx they use open arms. But the Welsh and the Cornish and Irish tend to use the lower body. What it's based in is the clogs or the working man's shoe from the days of hard flagstone floors. The working man in the pub, in the fish lofts, in the cellars, they would dance in shoes with either steel or leather strips on the bottom of their shoes.
Like a step?
Yes, step dance.
This is just our costume, which we took from the colours of the bird. And this bird, the chough, died out in Cornwall, and now it's just being reintroduced on the cliffs, and now is starting to breed again and coming back. But it's a very, very strong symbol of Cornwall.
Very cleverly
the thing
done.
with this country is, or with Britain, is that it's very London-based. All roads lead to London. All
Cars with London pictures.
right down here.
Right.
I think part of our problem has been that we've lacked autonomy. Decisions have been made in Westminster, whereas we should actually have greater control of our own affairs. And resources could actually be used more effectively. So, for example, if you look at the tourist industry, which is vital to Cornwall's economy, quite a lot of the profits and proceeds go outside Cornwall in terms of taxation, in terms of VAT, in terms of the general profits, whereas if that was centred more in Cornwall, we'd be much more of a wealthier nation.
They want to just import food from the rest of Europe. They do nothing to help their own.
But here you get a
farmers.
good nature to grow everything.
Of course, at the moment they don't care.
Cornish ethno-regionalist nationalist party is Mebian Kerno, which is Cornish for Sons of Cornwall, and which was set up in 1951, initially as a pressure group rather than the political party. You know, it would put pressure on other politicians.
No. She's saying you have no voice.
Oh.
And no, you have no voice.
So,
No. They don't care.
no, we're still fighting for recognition from Westminster. Afghanistan?
You're Asian, you're from Afghanistan, but God damn it, you can't say.
You're Russian, you're everything else.
Yes, but not Cornish. It's like they really don't want us to
Exist.
If
you're white, then you must be English.
If you're white, you're English.
I don't think we're strong enough already for independence, like Scotland, or Wales has its own parliament, it's doing well. But I think most of us living here would like to see more localised politics and politicians.
I would like it to be recognised as not part of England, because so many people think it's just a bit of England, but it's not, it's separate, and I would like that very much, yes.
Vlajka St. Piran je asi hlavním symbolem Cornwallu. Barvy symbolizují tavící se cín, vytékající z černé horniny. Svatý Piran je patronem horníků, kteří po staletí pracovali v cornwallském podzemí.
Přestože na konci 20. století byla naprostá většina dolů uzavřena, tradice, které vychází ze zvyku cornwallských horníků, zůstávají.
No, I think my family feels that we are Cornish, and part of wider Celtic sort of equals, if you like, But I think we also feel British as well. We're part of Britain, but we're Cornish first, I think,
Wow. I suppose, it was something that my mother always told me growing up. She always said, we're Cornish, we're Celtic, we're different, we're not English, we have our own language. So it's family, tradition, and our community traditions.
My surname is Cornish, my family is Cornish. That religious and political identity is very much Celtic Cornish.
I'm not actually a Celt, but I would be very proud if I was a Celt. I'd love to be a Celt, but I don't think I have any history. I just feel as if I am.
Okay.
So I'm proud of that.
I almost, like you say, we are a minority, and it almost gives us a certain small pride to be different from everybody else in England. So.
This isn't England, no, not a bit. This land is Cornwall, we're proud of it. It's part of Britain and the UK. But this isn't England, no matter what they say. We had a mighty country, we had a mighty king. We had a lovely language, we had everything. We had farms and fishing, and the tin mines too. Now all we've got is sod, oh no thanks to you, no.